My name is Rachel, and I'm 35 years old. Up until not too long ago, I thought my life was fairly ordinary. I work as a senior account manager at a trading company downtown. The pay is solid, the hours keep me busy, and honestly, I like the structure. 3 years back, I went through a divorce from my ex-husband, Matt. It wasn't messy, no screaming matches or ugly courtroom battles. We just grew apart, and luckily, we didn't have children, which spared us both from dragging innocent lives into a difficult chapter. What we did have, though, was a country house about an hour's drive outside the city. It wasn't a mansion by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a cozy 3-bedroom place that sat on roughly 2 acres of land. Matt wanted no part of it. He's always been a city guy through and through, so in the divorce settlement, the house became mine. At first, my plan was simple: sell the property, cash out, and put the money toward a modern apartment closer to work. I pictured myself with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and the convenience of walking to the grocery store or grabbing dinner downtown. It made perfect sense to me. But then my family got involved. My parents, Janine and Rob, are in their early 60s. Dad worked construction nearly his whole life. His hands are calloused from decades of building other people's dreams. Mom spent 30 years teaching before retiring, and while she means well, she has a way of inserting herself into every decision I make. They're both active, opinionated, and, when it comes to me and my younger sister Emily, a little too invested. Emily is 5 years younger than I am. She's the social butterfly of the family, works at a boutique downtown, always dressed to the nines, always surrounded by friends. For the last couple of years, she's been dating Tyler, a guy who works in IT. He's polite enough, though I can't say I know him well. Emily thrives on parties, gatherings, and any excuse to celebrate, while I've always been more of the keep to myself type. So, one Sunday dinner, I casually mentioned that I was thinking of selling the country house. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. "Rachel, you can't sell that beautiful place." Mom gasped, her fork clinking against her plate. "Think of the memories we could make there." "Yeah, sis," Emily chimed in with that excited grin she always uses when she's about to push for something. "It could be like our family retreat. Barbecues in the summer, Christmas by the fireplace, it would be perfect." I tried to explain that it didn't make sense to hold on to a house that would sit empty 90% of the time. But then Mom gave me the look, the same one she used when I was a kid, begging me to share the last cookie or let Emily borrow my favorite sweater. Her eyes softened, her voice dropped, and she reached across the table to grab my hand. "Please, Rachel," she whispered. "Keep the house for the family. For me." And just like that, I caved. The truth is, I've always had a soft spot for my parents. They worked hard all their lives, rarely asked for much, and deep down, I wanted to make them happy. So I agreed. Instead of selling the house, I went ahead and took out a mortgage on a city apartment. I was lucky enough to have a good chunk saved from years of working long hours, so I put down a large down payment. That kept my monthly payments reasonable, and I still got the modern place I'd dreamed of: 2 bedrooms, a sleek kitchen with all the upgrades, and just blocks from both the office and some of my favorite shops. The very first thing I did after deciding to keep the country house was install a security system. Call me cautious, but as a single woman spending weekends in an isolated property, I wasn't about to take chances. I had cameras mounted around the yard, motion sensors by the doors, and an alarm system hooked up to a monitoring service. It set me back about $3,000, but every penny was worth the peace of mind. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing, balancing my own needs with my family's wishes. What I didn't know was that keeping that house would set the stage for one of the most painful, eye-opening lessons of my life. Living alone meant I had to be cautious. The country house was quiet, tucked away on 2 acres of land, and when the sun went down, it could feel awfully isolated. I didn't take chances. I hired a security company to install cameras around the property and hooked up a full alarm system connected to a monitoring service. It cost me about $3,000, but it was worth every cent for the peace of mind. I also gave my mom a spare set of keys. She lit up like it was Christmas morning, clutching them as if I'd handed her a priceless gift. Over the next 3 years, that house slowly stopped feeling like just mine. It became the family's gathering spot. My parents used it for weekend escapes from the city. Emily and Tyler treated it like their own private getaway, sneaking off for romantic weekends. Holidays meant a packed house: me, my parents, Emily, and Tyler, sometimes Mom's sister Carrie with her husband, and Dad's brother Mitch with his kids. The place rang with laughter, food sizzling on the grill in the backyard, and people sprawled on the old sectional in the living room. I told myself I had made the right choice. Sure, I was still paying a mortgage on my city apartment when I could have owned it outright had I sold the country place, but seeing my family happy made it feel worth it. Besides, work was steady, my salary covered the bills, and I even managed to tuck away some savings. As the years rolled by, Emily brought Tyler around more often. It was clear where things were heading. He fit himself into our family gatherings, smiling politely as if he belonged there. Eventually, his parents, Lisa and Greg, joined a few cookouts and holidays. They struck me as decent people, quiet, a little formal compared to my own family, but polite enough. Then one Tuesday evening, the phone rang. It was Mom. "Rachel, honey," she began, her voice bubbling with excitement, "we're planning a big family get-together this Friday out at your country house. It'll be me and your dad, Emily and Tyler, his parents Lisa and Greg, plus Carrie and Mitch's family. Can you join us?" I exhaled, already dreading my answer. "I wish I could, Mom, but I have a management meeting on Friday that I can't miss. It'll probably run late." She slipped into her sweet, understanding tone. "Well, don't you worry, dear. Your work is important. We'll have fun without you." I thanked her for understanding, hung up, and went back to watching television, thinking nothing of it. But Friday morning, everything changed. I was ironing my blouse, ready to head into the office, when my boss called. His voice was apologetic. "Rachel, bad news. Both the director and deputy director came down with the flu. We'll need to postpone the management meeting until next week." I blinked, surprised. "Oh, okay. That's fine," I said, secretly relieved. Those meetings were always a grind anyway. "Take the afternoon off if you'd like," he added. "There's not much happening today." After we hung up, I stood there in silence for a moment, holding the phone in my hand. My family was already at my country house, eating, laughing, enjoying themselves. And here I was with an unexpected free afternoon. A smile crept across my face. Why not surprise them? It had been years since I'd done something spontaneous. I pictured their shocked faces when I walked through the door with treats in hand. I threw on a comfortable outfit and headed to my favorite pastry shop downtown. The smell of butter and sugar hit me as soon as I walked inside. I bought a little of everything: chocolate croissants, fruit tarts, almond cookies, the kind of desserts that never failed to make people happy. By the time I pulled into the long gravel driveway of my country house, the sun was dipping low, casting a warm golden glow across the yard. Every light in the house was blazing. Cars crowded the driveway: Mom and Dad's old Honda, Emily's red Toyota, Tyler's sleek black SUV, and a couple of other cars I recognized as belonging to my aunts and uncles. There was no doubt about it, everyone was there. I carried the bag of pastries carefully as I stepped out of my car, the gravel crunching under my shoes. My heart raced with excitement at the thought of surprising everyone. Instead of knocking, I thought it would be fun to slip in quietly and make a dramatic entrance with the desserts. I slid my key into the front door as silently as I could, turning the lock slowly until it clicked open without a sound. The moment I stepped inside, I heard laughter spilling from the living room. It made me smile at first, hearing my family so cheerful, their voices mingling in the kind of warm hum you only get when people are relaxed and enjoying themselves. I held my breath, tiptoeing toward the hallway, ready to burst in and shout, "Surprise!" But then my mother's voice cut through the laughter, sharp and cruel in a way I'd never heard before. "I'm telling you, Rachel is just so incredibly stupid." The words stopped me cold, my chest tightened as if someone had landed a punch square in my stomach. "She does whatever we tell her to do," Mom went on. "Like a little puppet, it's almost too easy." The room roared with laughter. I pressed myself against the wall, my hands trembling, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I wanted to believe I'd misheard her, but then Dad chimed in, his tone smug. "Remember when we convinced her not to sell this place? She was ready to buy herself a nice apartment outright. But we fed her some line about family memories, and boom, she keeps the house and takes out a mortgage instead. Now we get to use this beautiful property whenever we want, while she's stuck paying for her apartment in the city. Another round of laughter followed, and then Mom's voice again, laced with disdain. The girl has no backbone whatsoever. I felt dizzy, gripping the wall for support. Then Emily's voice chimed in, light and almost proud. "Oh, you should hear this. I ask Rachel to help me with rent all the time. I just call her crying about how tight things are, and she always says yes. Every single time." "How much does she give you?" someone asked. "Usually about $800, Emily replied. "Sometimes, more if I really pour it on thick." The room erupted again, laughter echoing through the walls that were supposed to be my safe place. I swallowed hard, my vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. Then my Aunt Carrie's familiar voice cut in. "Remember when I told Rachel I needed $2,000 for emergency dental work? She didn't even ask questions. Just wired it over the next day." "No way," someone said. "She didn't want to see a bill, or anything?" Carrie laughed. "Not a chance, she never even asked." "And you know what I really spent it on? A brand new sectional sofa and a coffee table. Rachel practically redecorated my living room." The whole room howled with laughter again, my mom included. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood. Then Uncle Mitch added his own story, his voice filled with amusement. "Last year, Rachel thought I was having car trouble. She handed me $1,500 for repairs. Guess what? I spent it on a fishing boat instead." More laughter. More betrayal. My stomach churned. All these years, every time I opened my wallet thinking I was helping the people I loved most, they'd been mocking me, taking advantage of me, and then bragging about it like it was some kind of game. And then Tyler's father spoke, his tone matter of fact. "You know, it's really something to have a family member like Rachel. Someone with money who just hands it out whenever you ask." The words twisted the knife deeper. They didn't see me as a daughter, a sister, or even family. To them, I was nothing but an ATM with a pulse. "Like having your own personal bank that never asks questions," Tyler's father said. "That's exactly what she is," my mother chimed in. "A walking ATM machine. The best part is she never even asks for the money back. Just gives it away, like she's some kind of charity." My dad chuckled. "Well, we need to keep this gravy train going, can't let her get too smart and start saying no to us." Then Mom's voice shifted, almost giddy. "Actually, the timing couldn't be better. I've been thinking about our next big ask. Emily and Tyler are probably going to get engaged soon, right?" Emily giggled. "We've been talking about it. Tyler's been looking at rings." "Perfect," Mom replied. "When that happens, we'll convince Rachel she needs to pay for the wedding. I'm thinking at least 10 or 15,000, maybe more if we play it right." Someone asked, "How are you going to get her to agree to that?" Mom didn't hesitate. "Easy. We'll tell her it's what families do for each other. Remind her she's the successful one, so of course she should help her little sister have the perfect wedding. And if she even thinks about saying no, we'll guilt her into it." That was when I heard the sound of glasses clinking. "Here's to stupid relatives with money," someone shouted. "And here's to Rachel, the gift that keeps on giving," my mother added. The room erupted in laughter and cheers. I stood frozen in the hallway, clutching that bag of pastries so tightly my knuckles went white. It felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. These weren't strangers, these weren't casual acquaintances. This was my family. My parents. My sister. My aunts and uncles. And all this time, I had believed I was helping them out of love. They didn't see me as kind or generous. They saw me as gullible, weak, stupid. My stomach twisted. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold onto the doorknob as I slipped quietly back out of the house. Somehow, I managed to make it to my car without being noticed. I dropped the bag of pastries onto the passenger seat, no longer caring about the surprise I had planned. My fingers trembled as I started the engine and eased down the driveway. It wasn't until I was halfway back to the city that I let the tears fall. By the time I reached my apartment, I collapsed on my couch, sobbing until my chest hurt. Hours passed like that. All weekend long, I replayed their words in my head. The laughter. The smug tones. The clinking of glasses to toast my so-called stupidity. Part of me wanted to call them right then, to scream at them, to demand answers, but another part of me, quieter, colder, told me to wait. They had already laid out their plan. They were going to hit me up for Emily's wedding. Why not let them walk right into their own trap? It didn't take long. 2 weeks later, my phone rang on a Tuesday evening. Mom's voice was practically singing. "Rachel, oh honey, I have the most wonderful news," she gushed. "Emily and Tyler got engaged. Can you believe it? Tyler proposed last night with this gorgeous ring. Emily is over the moon." I forced my voice into a cheerful tone. "That's so sweet." I bet she was completely surprised. "She was," Mom said, bubbling with excitement. Then her tone shifted, sliding into the familiar. "And Rachel, we want to have an engagement party to celebrate. I was thinking we could have it at your country house in a couple of weeks." Her words rang in my ears, each syllable sharpening my resolve. They thought they had me figured out. They thought I'd play the fool again. Not this time. "Would that be okay?" Mom asked, her tone syrupy sweet. "Here it comes," I thought. "Of course, Mom. You know the house is always available for family events." There was a pause, the kind that makes your stomach tighten because you know what's coming next. "Rachel, honey," she said, suddenly layering her voice with worry, "there's just one tiny little problem." I sighed. "What's wrong, Mom?" "Well, we want to make this party really special for Emily and Tyler. You know, nice catering, decorations, a gorgeous engagement cake. But we're a little short on funds right now." I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. "Oh no," I said, forcing concern into my voice. "I feel terrible asking," she continued, "but we need about $5,000 to make this party really nice. I know it's a lot of money, but Emily only gets engaged once, you know." There it was. The exact scam I had overheard them plotting. 5,000, I repeated slowly, making my voice tremble just enough to sound genuine. "Wow, that is a lot." I know, Mom rushed in. "But you make good money at your job, and Emily is your only sister. This is such an important moment for her." I could almost hear her holding her breath, waiting for me to cave. "Mom," I said softly, "I wish I could help, but I just had some unexpected expenses. Repairs on my apartment, my emergency fund is basically tapped out." I could tell she was disappointed, though she tried to mask it. "Well, what if Emily, Tyler, your dad, and I paid for everything up front, and then you could pay us back later?" Perfect. Predictable as ever. "That might work," I said smoothly. "You guys go ahead and order whatever you want for the party, and I'll pay you back as soon as I can." Her relief was palpable. "Really? Oh, Rachel, you're an angel. I'll call the caterers tomorrow. Emily will be thrilled." "Sounds great, Mom. I can't wait for the party." The second I hung up, I shook my head and laughed. They thought they knew me so well. They thought I was still the same gullible daughter who would fork over cash without question. But this time, I had other plans. 2 weeks later, on Thursday, I picked up the phone and called a locksmith. I told him I needed every lock on the property changed: front door, back door, side entry, even the shed in the backyard. We scheduled for Friday evening, after work, when I knew no one from my family would be around. That Friday, I drove out to the house. The moment I pulled into the driveway, I knew they'd already been there. Streamers fluttered in the breeze, balloons bobbed against the porch railing, folding tables covered in crisp white linens sat under the oak trees. Strings of twinkling lights wound around the deck posts, casting a soft glow. They had gone all out, transforming my simple country house into a picture-perfect party venue. For a brief second, guilt tugged at me. I almost felt bad about what I was going to do. Almost. The locksmith, a kind middle-aged guy named Franklin, showed up right at 7 o'clock sharp. He worked efficiently, swapping out the locks with practiced ease. Within an hour, every entry point had a brand new key. He handed me the set with a smile, completely unaware of the storm he had just helped me prepare for. After he left, I walked through the house one last time. The decorations glittered under the soft light, the tables were set, the rooms full of color and anticipation. And then, with deliberate calm, I started tearing it all down. One by one, streamers were yanked from the walls, balloons popped and deflated. Every carefully arranged table setting was swept into large black garbage bags. By the time I was done, the house looked bare again, as though no one had touched it. I dragged the heavy bags outside, stacking them neatly at the corner of the house, just far enough out of the way but still visible from the driveway. Let them see exactly where their party ended up. I stood there for a moment, brushing dust from my hands, and smiled. Tomorrow was going to be a very different kind of celebration. I drove back to my apartment that night and waited, knowing tomorrow would be the real show. Saturday morning, I crafted a short text to my mom. "Hey Mom, I'm really sorry, but I won't be able to make it to Emily's engagement party today. I'm feeling pretty sick with a cold and don't want to risk giving it to everyone else." An hour later, her reply came through. "That's fine, Rachel. Feel better." That was it. No, "Are you okay?" No, "Do you need anything?" Not even a half-hearted, "Hope you feel better soon." Just "That's fine." Almost as if she was relieved I wouldn't be there to ruin their little scheme. I spent the late morning curled up in my apartment. I ordered a large pepperoni pizza, poured myself a hot cup of coffee, and flipped on the television. While the smell of melted cheese filled my living room, my phone buzzed against the coffee table. "Mom." I smiled, letting it roll to voicemail. A few minutes later, Dad's name lit up the screen. Decline. Then, Emily. Decline again. The calls kept coming, one after another, until my phone was vibrating like it was possessed. Finally, I glanced at the messages. "Rachel, we're at the house, but our keys don't work." "Mom. The locks are different." "What happened?" "Dad." "Rachel, why aren't you answering your phone?" "Emily. This is crazy. The keys don't fit at all." "Mom again." I set the phone aside, grabbed another slice of pizza, and let them stew in their panic. For 30 straight minutes, I imagined them standing outside my house in their dress clothes, food deliveries arriving, relatives whispering, Emily fuming. It was peaceful. When I finally answered Mom's next call, her voice came through frantic and shrill. "Rachel, thank God you answered. We're all here at your house, and we can't get in. All the relatives are here. Tyler's parents are here. The caterers just showed up with all the food, and we're standing in the driveway like idiots because the door won't open." I sipped my coffee. "That's weird." "What do you mean weird?" "Something's wrong with your locks." "Actually," I said calmly, "nothing's wrong with them. I had them changed yesterday." For a solid 10 seconds, the line went dead silent. Then Mom stammered, You changed the locks? Why would you do that?" "Well," I said casually, "I heard you call me stupid about a month ago. You and everyone else were having a real good laugh about how dumb I am." Another pause. Then her tone flipped, switching to syrupy sweet. "Rachel, honey, I think you misunderstood something. We would never say anything like that about you." "Really?" I asked. "So you didn't say I was incredibly stupid and that I do whatever you tell me to do, like a puppet?" "No, of course not," she said quickly. "You must have misheard. And Emily didn't brag about scamming rent money out of me every month?" Silence. "And Carrie didn't laugh about how she used my dental emergency money to buy new living room furniture?" Still nothing. "Rachel, you're not making sense," Mom finally muttered, but her voice shook now. "Oh, I'm making perfect sense," I shot back. "Because I heard the whole conversation, Mom. Every single word. About how I'm your personal ATM. About how you plan to make me pay for Emily's wedding. About that toast you all made, here's to stupid relatives with money." The line went quiet again, but this time, the silence was heavier. I could practically hear them realizing their game was up. I could hear voices in the background, muffled and anxious, probably everyone asking what was happening. Then Mom's voice came back, softer now, almost pleading. "Look, even if you heard something like that," she said carefully, "you have to understand we were just joking around. We didn't mean anything by it." I let out a laugh that was sharp and humorless. "Joking? You think it's funny to take thousands of dollars from me while calling me an idiot behind my back?" "Rachel, you're being ridiculous," Mom snapped, her sweet act slipping. "We're family. Family helps each other out." "You're right," I replied coldly. "Family should help each other out. But what you've been doing isn't helping. It's stealing." Suddenly, Emily's voice blasted through the receiver, shrill and furious. Rachel, you're being a complete brat. We've already decorated the house. Everyone is here. The food is here. You're going to ruin my engagement party. Actually, Emily, I said calmly, I already took down all your decorations. They're in garbage bags at the corner of the house. You can pick them up and get off my property. Her scream cracked through the line. You can't do this to me. This is my special day. Your special day that you expected me to pay for, while you laughed about how stupid I am? Yeah, Emily. I can absolutely do this to you. We're going to break down the door. She shrieked. No, you're not, I replied evenly. Because I have security cameras and an alarm system. Remember? If you damage my property, I'll call the police, and you'll all be arrested. I heard Emily break into sobs before handing the phone back to Mom. Rachel, please, Mom begged, her voice trembling now. Can't we work this out? Just let us in, and we'll talk about this like adults. There's nothing to work out, I said. I heard exactly what you all think of me. The talking is over. But we spent $5,000 on this party. She cried desperately. I burst out laughing, the sound bubbling up uncontrollably. And, whose fault is that? I told you I didn't have the money. You decided to spend it anyway, hoping you could guilt me into paying you back later. That was your choice, not mine. That's not fair. We're your family. She yelled. You're right, I said slowly, letting the weight of my words sink in. You are my family. And that's what makes this whole thing so much worse. I took a deep breath and delivered the final blow. You know what, Mom? Take your decorations, your food, your guests, and get off my property. And don't come back. You don't mean that, she whispered, but her voice cracked with fear. I absolutely mean it. I'm done being your personal ATM. I'm done being the stupid sister and daughter who pays for everything. I'm done with all of you. I hung up and turned my phone ringer off. Then I sat back on my couch, eyes fixed on the security camera feed. For the next hour, I watched as they scrambled, angry and confused, hauling bags of decorations back to their cars. The caterers loaded trays of untouched food back into their van. Emily sobbed openly, mascara streaking her cheeks. Tyler stood there awkwardly, shifting his weight from foot to foot, looking like he wished he could disappear. His parents looked mortified, probably wondering what kind of family their son was marrying into. Good. Let them all be embarrassed. The next morning, I was jolted awake by loud pounding on my apartment door. I peeked through the peephole. There they were, Mom, Dad, and Emily, their faces twisted in fury. I opened the door just enough to meet their eyes. What do you want? We want to talk, Dad growled, pushing past me into the living room without waiting for permission. Emily stormed in right behind him. You ruined everything. She screamed. My engagement party is ruined, and it's all your fault. Actually, I said evenly, it's your fault for thinking I was stupid enough to pay for it after everything I heard you say about me. You owe us $5,000. Mom shouted, her face red with anger. We spent that money because of you. I laughed so hard I nearly doubled over. No, you spent that money because you thought you could manipulate me, you thought you'd trap me into covering it. That little plan backfired, didn't it? Mom's face drained of color. I could see it, the exact moment she realized I had orchestrated this entire thing. You did this intentionally, she said slowly. Of course I did, I answered. You think I'm stupid, remember? But it turns out I'm a lot smarter than you gave me credit for. Dad stepped closer, his jaw tight. Until you apologize to us and pay us back that money, we're not speaking to you anymore. I smiled, almost relieved. Perfect. That saves me the trouble of cutting you out of my life myself. I don't want to talk to any of you ever again. You can't be serious, Mom whispered. Dead serious, I said firmly. I'm done giving you money. I'm done letting you use me. I'm much smarter now, aren't I? I walked to the door, swung it open wide, and pointed outside. Get out. They left without another word. That was 6 months ago. I never sold the country house. Instead, I signed a contract with a local real estate agency and turned it into a vacation rental. The income covers my city mortgage and then some. Best of all, I don't have to deal with my freeloading family anymore. Last month, I saw on Facebook that Emily finally got married. It wasn't the grand, fairy tale wedding they had tried to force me to pay for, no ballrooms, no fancy catering. Just a small, bare-bones ceremony at a local church with a cheap white dress and a handful of guests. I wasn't invited, obviously. And I didn't send a gift either. Since then, Mom, Dad, and Emily have tried reaching out through mutual friends, but I ignore every message. I'm not interested in reconciling. They showed me exactly what they think of me, and I believe them. The truth is, I'm happier now than I've been in years. My house earns income, my apartment feels like home, and my life is finally my own. Turns out, I'm not as stupid as they thought. I'm just done being their fool. Healthy families don't run on guilt, secrecy, or other people's wallets. Rachel's story is a reminder, especially for those of us in midlife, juggling mortgages, aging parents, and adult kids that love needs boundaries to stay love. It's wise to be generous, but wiser to put your own oxygen mask on first, keep a real budget, maintain an emergency fund, and never commit money on emotion or over the phone. Verify emergencies, set clear terms, gift versus loan, and get repayment in writing if it's a loan. Protect your assets the way you protect your health, limit access keys, codes, accounts, review who has them, and change them when trust is broken. When someone calls you selfish for saying no, remember that no is a complete sentence and a necessary one when patterns of manipulation appear. Choose the relationships that choose you back, in respect and honesty. If reconciliation is possible, let it be built on truth and new boundaries, not pressure. And if it isn't, give yourself permission to step away without apology. You can be kind and firm, generous and prudent. The real lesson, your peace of mind is priceless, and protecting it is not betrayal, it's self-respect.